I was a dragon girly ever since I was a kid. Did I read the title correctly? What was I trying to say? I call it a win. Y'all, I can't read. Why did I bring this up? Why did you make me buy these? Send help. Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel for another video this week. I know I have been MIA recently, and I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I have the biggest struggle with filming videos right now because I can't seem to get that charm that I always have with filming videos as of recently. I just consistently feel the need to re-record and re-film a lot of things. And I figured today we are going to do something a little bit easier on myself and on the whole filming, editing, YouTube portion of things. And we are going to go through my entire physical TBR. In addition to this, I am also including a small haul as part of this video because apparently, even though I wanted to do a low buy year, I went to a secondhand bookstore and I just couldn't help myself because I saw some really great picks and picks that were already on my TBR. So I couldn't help myself, and it was buy four, get one free, and it kind of just went from there. I will have to say all the books are under $3.99. I believe 3 of them were actually $3.50, so I got a good deal, all right? That's all I'm gonna say. So without any further ado, let's hop right into my physical TBR. This is my TBR cart. This year, one of my goals is to tackle my physical TBR and dwindle this down as much as possible. I'm hoping to successfully read about 75% of the books. Well, read is a very loose term. If I end up not enjoying any of the books, I will allow myself to DNF it or unhaul it if necessary. So before we start, guess how many books are on the cart right now? So I have 3 layers. The bottom layer really only has, let me move the camera. The bottom layer really only have 4 books. So I counted the first layer for you all. So this first layer only has 4 books. And here is the second and third layer. I'm gonna turn this around so you guys can see the other side. The other side is not as pretty because it's never on camera, but I do have some books on the other side, mostly paperback books with a couple of hardcovers. So I'm gonna get right into it now. So I'm gonna flip back to the pretty side and we'll go from there. I just realized it cuts part of my face. So give me a second. All right, I raised it. Hopefully, this is what I mean. Filming has been rough. Like I just had like a portion of my face cut off, but hopefully it's not too annoying and I'm just gonna wing and go with it. I'm gonna turn this back to its a prettier face and we're gonna go through all the books. I don't think I'm gonna go through what the book is about and the synopsis or anything about it. We're just gonna go through it and then we're gonna count how many books I have on the shelf and you guys can leave a guess down in the comment section. It's definitely not a large amount, which I'm so grateful for. And I'm, again, trying to keep it a low spend, low buy year. And yeah, I yapped this intro way too long now. So I'm going to start with the smallest book haul ever, a secondhand thrifted book haul, but a book haul nonetheless. And then we'll go from there since the book haul does include the books on this list. So one of the books in my tiny book haul is actually already on my shelf, and it is because it is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I did see a lot of copies of Beach Read at my local secondhand bookstore because I think the limited edition came out and a lot of people were purchasing the limited edition and then they were donating the older or the regular edition to the thrift store. And as a result, I was lucky enough to have stumble upon it and I picked it up because I really enjoyed the book, even though the romance wasn't my favorite. I really liked how Emily Henry was able to write about grief and how both of the characters were able to grow and adapt from everything that they have experienced. So I picked it up. I had to pick it up. So aside from Beach Read, I was also able to pick up The Tipping Point at my secondhand bookstore. This is on my 25 before the end of 2025 list because I do believe The Revenge of the Tipping Point came out last year and I wanted to read that as well. So I wanted a refresher about what The Tipping Point was about and then dive right into The Revenge of the Tipping Point probably next year. I don't know when I'm going to get around to this, but it is part of my agenda to read for this year. And then the next two books that I thrifted from the bookstore were actually companion novels. We have Things We Never Left Behind and Things We Hide from the Light. Did I read the title correctly? Yes. So the first one is Things We Left Behind. Second is Things We Hide from the Light. This is part of the, I know it's a set of companion series, the Knockout series. I don't know anything about this. I do know that some booktubers really, really enjoy the series. I do not have the first book, which is Things We Never Got Over. I didn't see it at the thrift store, but I did see both of it. They are aesthetically pleasing, and I feel like it's the kind of book or romance book that I would enjoy, so I went ahead and just picked it up. That's a really bad excuse from my low buy year that I'm trying to have, but it's the first month. Give me a break, all right? So also picked up these two. What was the fourth book? All right, the final book I got at the thrift store is The Midnight Library. I heard really good things about this book actually, and I believe this is a more literary book talking about reminiscing in your life and what you could have done and what could have happened. I want to say that it is what it's about, or somewhere along the lines. I've heard great things about it. I decided to pick it up. It seemed like a relatively short read as well, so I'm excited to get around to it. And those are all, these four with Beach Read are all the books I purchased recently, and the amount came out to be below $20. So I call it a win. I call it a win, even if I did fail my low buy in the first month. I'm hoping that as long as I steer clear from the secondhand bookstore, I should be safe. I'm not even buying the newest release for any of the books. I haven't put anything on pre-order yet, and I don't think I will, even though I really love Emily Henry and I love Abby Jimenez and I love Ali Hazelwood's books. Low buy year. Low buy year, only buying books that I am really enjoying, books that really mean a lot to me, and instead of just, you know, overfilling my house with more books. So yapping aside, let's start with the first row. I already told you guys there are four books at the bottom, and it is the City of Bones series. Can I even get this out? All right, pulling everything out. We have first the City of Bones. We have City of Fallen Angels, City of Glass, and City of Ashes. I don't think this completes the whole series. I think my husband stopped reading these books prior to it being completed. So I want to say there's 2 or 3 more books after this, but I'm not 100% certain. And we'll see how much I enjoy the series once I get around to reading it. This, I think you might see a handful of these books in my latest video, which is scouring my husband's bookshelf, his high school bookshelf, and all the books that he has. So I will have a mix of those books also on this cart. And the very set are his books, The City of Bones. Moving right along, we have In the Weeds. What's this? Oh, I also have a little bookmark. Can you guys see this? Yeah. So this came with a little bookmark when I purchased it at the secondhand thrift store. I think the person just left it in there, and now I have a nice little bookmark to go with. This is the second book in the Love Life Farms series set of companion novels, and I'm really excited to read this. I will be reading this in spring for sure because it focuses on 2 characters that I was pretty interested in Love Life Farms. Next book is another book that's on my 25 before the end of 2025, and it is The Liar, the King, and the Libertine. Moving on, we have the Hunger Game trilogy. I have the Hunger Games, Mockingjay, and Catching Fire. So I have the whole trilogy here. I am planning to read this sometime this year. Let me know if you think it'll be interesting to do like a full reading vlog of all 3 of these books. These are YA and they're not particularly thick books and dense, but I'm hearing really great things about it, and the dystopian world in these books are not so dystopian anymore. So it might be a good read to have. I might do a reading vlog of all of the books all at once, or maybe take breaks between them. I haven't really decided on that yet. And then next we have the third book of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This one is The Titan's Curse. I read book 1, book 2. My husband was supposed to read it because we were supposed to buddy read the series together. He has not done that. I'm gonna give this a go, and then I might just soft DNF the series until my husband catches up to it. And I don't think I'm gonna buy the rest of the series or the rest of the books because he does own them in his house. So I'm like, why did you make me buy these? Hello? Men. Next up, I have another book on my 25 in 2025, I think. I think it should be, and it is Agatha Christie Murder on the Orient Express. You guys can hear all about my struggles about finding a good mystery thrillers in some of my past monthly wrap-ups. But I'm really looking for really good mystery thrillers, and a suggestion is to go back to the classics. And Agatha Christie is one of the classic mystery thriller author. Moving along, we have Filthy Rich Vampires. I actually added this on my TBR shelf from like long times ago when I was browsing Target and I saw this on their shelf and I was like, this billionaire vampires seem like right up my alley in kinds of books that I'll enjoy. So I put it in the back burner. It's on my TBR list. And then I saw this at a thrift store, so I had to pick it up. Like, I cannot say no to a good deal on a book that I enjoy. This is not part of the batch that I broke my low buy on. This was actually purchased like months ago, but still the same. I need to really read it because I mean, if it's been on my TBR shelf for this long, and I think I purchased this 6 months ago, it needs to be read. But I digress. The last two books in the first shelf or the first row is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is actually my copy, like my name. My name is inside of this, and I'm excited to reread Harry Potter at some point. I don't know when that point is going to be. I'm thinking if I really wanted to reread Harry Potter in the midst of it all, but this is definitely a book that I want to reread. Should it even be on the shelf? I don't think so. Maybe I'll put it on my actual shelf. So I'll put this aside for now. The next book is The Great Gatsby. This is one of the OG reads from high school that I really remember things about, like the car crash, the green light, and the very subtle romance. I don't know why. This was my favorite read in high school because of the subtle romance. So I'm ready to get back in it. Very short, a very short read. On similar notes for books that are read in high school, we have To Kill a Mockingbird and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Both of these are classics, and they are, I believe, on the banned book registry. I do want to get around to this year, but I don't know. I don't know, just something about how tiny, like, look at the text. Like, something about how tiny the text is intimidates me. But it's all right. I will put this aside and move on. The next one I picked up from my husband's library is the Tomorrow Code. I don't know anything about this. I'm just going to put it down. I read the synopsis. I thought it was interesting, so I grabbed it from him. And in a similar note, I also brought The House of Scorpion. Why did I bring this up? Oh, okay, this is why. Mateo Alacron was not born. He was harvested. His DNA came from El Patron and what was once called Mexico. Matt's first cell split and divided inside of a petri dish. Then he was placed in a womb of a cow, where he continued and miraculously journeyed from embryo to a fetus to a baby. El Patron loves Matt as he loves himself because Matt is himself. This is like some interesting sci-fi read. Like, this sounds so good. I remember I read a book with a similar base, which is called, I believe, Unravel, and it's a YA sci-fi, I believe. And it had to do with like kids being harvested, like at the age of 6 up until the age of 16, or is it 18? They could be reharvested and their organs be donated, like all parts of their body. Crazy sick, but I still really enjoyed the sci-fi aspect of it. So I think that's why I picked this up. So we have that. Moving right along, I think I might just read this because I'm in a huge reading slump, but it is The Dragon, the Girl, and the Wild Magic. A elementary read for sure, a young, not even a young adult, a middle grade read. But sometimes you need some simple books to just get back into reading. Is this why I enjoy like books with dragons? Because I mean, even as a kid, look at this. We have a girl, a dragon, and the magic. I was a dragon girly ever since I was a kid, all right? This is the proof. Moving on, we have Memoirs of a Geisha. I think Ellen also picked this up, so we said that we were going to eventually read it together at some point. I don't know when that point is, but I'm skimming through this, Ellen, and the font is tiny for being a 400-page book. I'm also intimidated by this, but we will get to these books sometime this year for sure. Moving right along, I have The Book Thief, which is actually Jessie's favorite book or one of her favorite reads, and that's why I picked it up when I saw it at the library book sale. So we have The Book Thief. And then finally, the last book on this row is A Promise of Peridot, which is the second book in the Sacred Stones trilogy. At this point, the third book, the final book of the trilogy, is already out. I did not pre-order it because I did not read this. And again, this also has dragons, it's fantasy, and it's one of the first few books that were fantasy-based that I started reading, which is why I pre-ordered this. I don't know how I feel about it just yet, like this world of its own. According to Jessie, because she read the whole series, she wasn't too into it at the end. So I've been putting it off. I do think I will finish the series this year or DNF it after this book, and we'll decide from there. Now, the very top slot in the back, there's only 2 books, so I'm gonna pull it out. Also, my leg is numb. My leg is numb in the sitting position, guys. I need to stretch more. All right, so the 2 books in the back is going to be Inseron and Saf. Y'all, I can't read. Inseron and Sapphic. Yeah, I don't know anything about these books. Lock and Key. Sorry, Key and Lock. Key and Lock. So I don't know anything about this. I am a sucker for a pretty book cover, which is why I picked these up from my husband's place. Okay, cool. The top shelf is just mostly hardcover, and I'm gonna quickly fly through them right now. Also, let me know in the comment section if any of these books you think I should read, because I don't even know where to start. Honestly, genuinely, like in my TBR board game, I tried to play the board game so that I would pick a book from the shelf, and I straight up got prompts that told me to get it from my library or get it off of my Kindle. So it's been a struggle, all right? The very first one I have here is blank. I don't know where the sleeves are, so I guess I shouldn't give my husband too much crap about not knowing where his Twilight sleeves are, but it is The Big Short. Big Short is basically what happened in 2008 with the whole housing crash. That's all I know about it. I had this for quite some time now, and I've been interested in reading it. Then I also picked up Gone Girl from my husband. I just realized that I believe The House of Scorpion and Gone Girl didn't make it in my Scouring My Husband's video because I actually found these after the fact. And I said I wanted to read a good mystery thriller. This one is with a unreliable narrator. As of right now, I think unreliable narrators are overdone. Genuinely, I think they are overdone and they are not done right. I am excited to see how one of the original unreliable narrator will work out, will write about how it's going to be executed. So I'm excited for this one. I don't know when I'm going to read it, but I'm excited for it. Moving right along, we have Animal Farm and 1984 by George Orwell. I read 1984 last year, and I'm planning definitely going to be reading Animal Farm pretty soon. One of the reasons why I'm spiraling, I mean, send help. Okay, next up, I think this book is going to end up in a free little library, and it is Geek Girl Rising Inside a Sisterhood Shaking Up Tech. I worked in tech for 7 years. At this point, I'm no longer working. I took some time off. And everything goes to spiral, so I'm spiraling, but I'm fine. Everything's fine. And I don't really know what this is about and if I'm really going to be interested in it, to be honest, but I think this was a gift at one of the conferences I went to in the past. It's actually even a signed copy. So I'm going to give it a try, but I'm not committing myself to forcing myself to read. One of the things I learned last year is that sometimes nonfiction reads can be hit or misses, and you don't have to read purely nonfiction to learn something. Like historical fiction and retellings all have similar purposes, and they write in such a way to really entice you into the storyline and really grips your knowledge and grips what you understand about history. I like that variation just as much. So for me, I've definitely strayed away a little bit from just purely nonfiction self-help along with memoirs. I only really want to read memoirs of people that I'm interested in and invested in, and really gives a different perspective with a good tone in their writing. So what that basically means is that I'm not forcing myself to read this. This might go into a little free library. And the next book I have is 13 Reasons Why. I also picked this up at my library book sale back in September. I think it was September. And I remember really enjoying this as a kid, as a high schooler. This was actually one of our book club picks, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to give it a go, read it. I haven't seen the Netflix adaptation of it as of yet. I did hear that it's a little bit poorly done, so I'm not the most excited about it when it came out, but I also didn't think that it needed multiple seasons, since whatever happened in this book happened, and anything extra felt a little bit gimmicky and a cash grab in my opinion. But I'm gonna move on to the next book, which is Home is Where the Bodies Are. What was I trying to say? So the next book I have here is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. I did read two of her books last year, which is, I believe, I don't remember the name. Oh, this is going so well. All right, I don't remember the name, but I read two of her books last year. All right, one of them has to do with a mistress, wife, husband, all that stuff. And then the other one has to do with a small town serial killer romance, weird romance, I have to add. And I didn't enjoy those two. I actually enjoyed the mistress, wife, husband thing because it had a lot more elements to it. But the first one was weird. It was weird. I thought I was reading a romance, and then the twist happened, and I was like, this isn't a twist. This is not a twist. I don't know what it is, but it's not a twist. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next book I have, which is Five Broken Blade. It is thick, but it is pretty. I saw this at Costco, and I was like, I gotta grab it, right? I know that the second book recently came out, so that's exciting. I don't know why I just got the first book without even thinking or reading anything about it, but I'm hoping this will be good. This is written in 5 different perspectives, so it's going to get a little bit nutty. It's going to be a little bit wild, a lot of craziness happening, and I hope I enjoy it. I do know to read only physically or on my Kindle because, as I heard from Lauren, that the audiobook for this one is terrible. Always have other people's reviews in the back of my mind. Don't you guys worry. Anytime I watch your videos, your reviews and everything is in the back of my mind at some point. Moving right along, we have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This might be a really good read for Black History Month, actually, so I might pick this one up. This is a book that was on Chris's list that I saw her enjoying it, and that's why I picked it up. But I have to say, I don't really know anything about it, but it does seem like weaving together multiple strands of generation from the deep south of California from the 1950s to the 1990s, The Vanishing Half is at once a riveting emotional family story and a brilliant exploration of race, gender identity, and the lasting influence of the past as it shapes a person's desires and expectations. Sounds pretty interesting. I might actually read it for Black History Month. And I think now we are down to the very last 2 books on this cart. This one's a chonker. This one is an intimidating chonker, and it is The Woman by Kristen Hannah. And this is actually one of the books that is on my 25 before the end of 2025. And it is heavily, heavily loved by Renee at Beyond Books. Do I know anything about this book? I think I do. At some point when I picked up this book, I did. I picked up this book before I saw Renee's review and endorsement of it, simply because it seemed like it's about like the women and the nurses that were on the American side of things during the Vietnam War, and I'm Vietnamese. And one of the biggest things for me is just to get more knowledge of history, just learn more about what has happened in history, even if it's in variation of retellings and historical retellings like this. I think it's an interesting take, and it makes the storyline and the knowledge more accessible, because definitely a storyline with characters and more interpersonality that happens through the pages makes it a lot more digestible. So I did pick this up. I am planning to read this sometime this year, but I'm not gonna lie, the book is a little intimidating, Renee. It's a little bit thick, but I'm excited when I get around to it. And the very last book is The Night Ends with Fire. I did get a special edition, and this is hard and heavy, all right, for a really thin book. And I believe this is supposed to be a YA Mulan retelling. I heard very mixed reviews about this, as at the moment, the two people that came to my mind for this book is Bonnie Nichols Wright, who really enjoyed it. And then on the flip side of this is Melanie at a dark corner of the library. She did not really like this. I'm really excited to see where I land on all of this. But what I realized as I was talking to Lauren about like fantasy and everything and all that good stuff is that I'm not well into the fantasy era yet. I don't know what the common tropes are. I don't know what is a common thing that happens in fantasy books as of yet. And I think that will impact a lot of my fantasy rating as of right now. Because I feel like right now, anything that happens, I'm like, yes, that's good. I love it. I love it. But I'm not as critical because I'm not as aware as to how fantasies are played out and how well a world building is. Like, you don't know what a good world building is until you read one that's really good versus one that is not as good, right? So that's kind of like where I'm at right now, and I'm excited to read. I think out of all of this list, I have a good handful of fantasy that I'm gonna get around to, and that concludes all the books that are on my TBR shelf. So let me know down in the comment section if I should prioritize any of these books over the other, or if you know of any of these books prior to this channel and prior to me listing them out off my cart. I think this is it. Oh, wait, I forgot. I'm supposed to count up these books and tell you guys how many books that I currently have on hand to be read. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and then I'll check back with you guys in probably a second for you all, and we'll go from there. And I am back. I have counted, and the total numbers of books on this cart is a solid 38 books, which is actually really, really doable. I have read about 100 books last year, so I'm pretty positive in my ability to tackle down at least 75% of this book, which is what, 38? Math is not my strong suit. 20 something books. I'm gonna say around like 25 books. 38 if you include the Harry Potter. If you did not include it, 37. And that is it for this video. Thank you for sticking around with me. I am getting back into the groove of filming things. I'm hoping to have my February TBR coming up real soon, along with all the data statistics for December monthly wrap-up, 2024 monthly wrap-up, and then January monthly wrap-up. So stick around. If you guys like bookish content, make sure to hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next coming weeks for more videos. Bye!